Hi, good afternoon. So, for today, we're going to talk about another topic for communication. And before we get to that one, kindly check the jumbled words that we have there, which is relatively close to a quote. Okay, do you know what it is? Okay, you're correct. Actions speak louder than words. So, we often hear this in various situations. We often hear people asserting that without actions, words would be insufficient. Just like saying, I love you without presenting it through your efforts and acts, behavior. So, in this lesson, we are going to talk about actions that are separate and could even work as words. So, moving on. So, our objectives would be at the end of this mini course or lesson, the learner will be able to distinguish the unique features of one of the communication process from the other, demonstrate sensitivity to the sociocultural dimension of communication, situation with focus on culture, gender, age, social status, and religion, identify the categories of nonverbal communication, demonstrate understanding of the nonverbal categories through differentiated learning instruction outputs. So we are trying to tap on cultural sensitivity, teamwork, respect, and honesty. So nonverbal communication, I think you were getting it already as we were talking about actions speaking louder than words. So what do we know about nonverbal communication? So it is the transfer of meaningful information from one person to another by means aside from written or spoken language. We usually use this one with our close friends that even if we're not talking to each other, we get it. Like with just the raising of the eyebrow or just a glance or just a smile, we already know what we are trying to deal with or what we want to send across. So it is a way for us to communicate even without using words. So nonverbal communication is also an act of imparting or interchanging thoughts, opinions, or information without the use of spoken words. It could be a nod, a thumbs up, a raise of an eyebrow, the twitching of the mouth, or a frown. Those could already serve as a way to exchange information. So we often do this. Nonverbal communication is part of life. It applies to all aspects of life, to all disciplines of life. So, categories of nonverbal communication, we have kinesics, paralinguistics, proxemics, haptics, clothing and artifacts, appearance and style, color variations in clothing, environmental colors, and chronamics. One may think that this may be only useful for English, but actually it applies to life, to relationships, and even the workplace. So make sure that you listen well because your nonverbal communication or nonverbal language can contribute a lot to what's going on in your life and even in your relationships. So, kinesics refers to the facial expressions, gestures, eye movement, posture, and rate of walk. It is the study of human body motion. Kaya nga in kinesics, you're referring to the movement. It includes variables as facial expressions, eye movements, gestures, posture, and walking speed. By just looking at the posture of someone, you could already have a hint of the type of personality that the individual has. If the person is slouching, one could say that that person could be shy or not really that confident. But if the person stands up with the chin up high and looks at people straight in the eye, one could think that they would have the impression that that person is indeed confident. We could also consider the movement of the eye. If the person looks at you while he or she is talking, you could say that the person is sincere. If the person looks at you straight in the eye, there is a possibility that the person is lying. But bear in mind that that is not an ultimate fact because there are people who are really, really good in lying. So let's move on. So eye contact, as I've mentioned, is one of the most important nonverbal channels in communication and connecting with other people. It is the cheapest and the most expensive. That's why when we have someone close to us establishing eye contact, we feel the sincerity. But also, eye contact can be a way to intimidate and cause discomfort, especially to people whom you are not really that close yet with. So, eye contact can also be related to the relationship of two people. That's why when a stranger establishes an eye contact to you and prolongs it, there is a feeling of discomfort because you're not that close to that person yet. So let's have a graphic here. So these are pictures that present the meaning of the movements of the eyes. Like for example, if I'm looking I'm looking this way, so I'm looking to the upper left, I'm thinking about a constructed visual. That means I'm coming up with my own memory. There's a possibility that I'm making things up. If I'm looking like that, this way to the left, I'm trying to remember. If I'm trying to look at this way, it's a constructed auditory, and for the left side is remembered auditory. When you look downwards, you're trying to remember what you felt, and when you look on the lower right side, on the down part, you are trying to construct a feeling, or you're trying to say a constructed feeling, which is not really a genuine one. So when you're trying to remember, it falls on the right side. On the right side. And then you're trying to construct, it's on the left side. So again, for the construction, it's on this side, the left side, and on the right side is the remembering part. So make sure that you take note on how they speak, how they move their eyes, because that could give hints. But again, there are people who have perfected the art of lying, so they could really look at you straight in the eye and still lie. Next, posture. It is the way the speaker stands while delivering his speech, the way he or she sits while waiting for his turn, and the way he or she walks to and from the podium when leaving the stage. You could already have a hint of the level of confidence of the speaker by the way he or she sits, by the way he or she stands, or by the way he or she walks. So you would see that a person is really confident, reliable, credible by the way he moves, by his posture. That's why it's very important that we look presentable, we look confident, because that's where it all starts. Remember that this world is full of judgmental people and people who rely on their first impressions. So might as well give your best shot in times when you have to deliver a speech or a talk or your recitation or anything else that is related to speaking in front of a crowd. Okay, yes, you cannot please everybody, but at least give it your best shot. Next is the facial expression. This is the most uncontrollable part. It comprises a huge proportion of nonverbal communication and reflects a person's natural feelings. It cannot be planned, it is spontaneous, it's consistent and appropriate. If you're gonna notice, sometimes when you do not like what's happening, when you do not like the person who is talking in front of you, the tendency is your facial expression will give a hint about it. But there are also incidents wherein you have to practice yourself and you have to control your facial expression for you to save yourself, or else you'll be in a lot of trouble. But most of the time, when you're disgusted, when you're angry, when you feel something that is beyond acceptable, or you're so happy, it shows in your face. Gesture. It is a form of nonverbal communication in which visible bodily actions communicate particular messages either in place of speech or together in parallel with spoken words. Like, for example, the movement of the hands, like when you move it like this. The face, when you try to lean forward, you move your head forward. Or when you put your eyebrows together just to show that you are giving more impact to what you're saying, and other parts of the body. These are supplemental and supportive and could actually work on their own. So we also have micro gestures, but this could be in a uh, different topic. But here are a few forms of gestures that you could consider. When you see someone crossing arms, it means that person is close to the concept. The person is resisting. They are not listening. They do not want to listen. It's already a sign. If you're trying to chat with your friend and she is crossing her arm, might as well stop. That person might be preoccupied, or he or she doesn't really want to listen. Next, brief touch. This brief touch, like it's like touching the person quickly. It is an attempt to catch your attention and form a quick connection. In Filipinos, it's a way for you to call the person, right? It's it is parallel to the meaning of the gesture. You're trying to get the attention. Nose rub. When you do this, it could be linked with deception or insincerity. Why is it so? I have read an article that says you are trying to say something that's not true. That's why your body is like reacting to it. Like your brain knows that it's wrong. That's why unconsciously your body reacts to it by unconsciously rubbing your nose, because what you're saying is not true. Barrier as well protects one's personal space. In Western business culture, it is so sacred. So once done, it's done. Back off. So an important explanation for this. For example, you're on a date. You're attempting to hold the hand of your date, but your date notices this and holds her bag on the direction or on the hand on which you're trying to hold, on the hand that you're trying to hold, and then you transfer to the other side. Then she hugs her bag. That is already a sign that she does not want to hold hands with you, right? So, hand introduction meaning a decision is being made. We could see this one. Sometimes it's unconscious that when you're trying to come up with a decision, you do this. Especially for men with beard, sometimes they even do the playing of the beard like this, and they're thinking actually. It's a way for them to think. Okay. Those are unplanned, by the way. Another, when the feet are pointed to the door, the person doesn't want to continue to talk to you anymore. You would see this in classrooms, especially when it's almost time. It's almost dismissal time. You see everyone, their feet are pointed to the door because they want to go home already. They want to end the class. Back of the neck scratch, the person has questions and concerns, or doubtful or uncertain with what's happening. But if the person keeps on scratching her head like this and even does that, well, the person might have lice. Okay, that's a different problem. That's not a gesture, it's an itch. Okay, and it's a parasite problem. Rubbing hands together, on the other hand, is anticipation. We could see that most of the time, like when somebody rubs his or her hand together, you are excited for a gift, food, or something else. Okay, then biting nails is showing nervousness. That means the person is doubtful, the person is feeling anxiety about what is about to happen. And putting the hand or finger on one's cheek, so not necessarily like this. You're trying to come up with a dimple if you're doing this. But when you're doing this, you're trying to think deeply. But not at all times. There are times, yes. Then next, we move on to paralinguistics. It refers to the additional information that is not represented by words. Paralinguistics. Okay? Not represented by words. What do we mean? The pitch, the volume, the rate, the hesitations, and silence. Pitch is the highness or the lowness of the voice. It is similar to the pitch on a musical scale. They say when you're talking to the person that you love, you have a higher pitch. Try to consider when you're talking over the phone. The volume or the power of your voice, or its loudness or volume, also affects the perceptions of intended meaning. When you speak so loud, you might be giving an impression that you're angry. If you're speaking too soft, you might be showing that you're a little shy about what you're saying. You're not confident. Okay.